Hello, and welcome to today's Opt to Thrive Manage Your Mind Mindful Moment.
Welcome to Opt to Thrive, your go-to podcast for women's wellness in midlife, designed to educate, support, and inspire you to live your very best life. And now your host, Dr. Karina Sims.
Today, I want to talk about a word that we use in our inner dialogue, how we talk to ourselves, and why it matters. Some years ago now, I heard Tony Robbins talk about people shoulding all over themselves. And what he meant by that was that they were beating themselves up for something that they thought that they should or shouldn't have done. That was the first time that I can recall ever considering should to be a negative word. Until that point, it had just been a sneaky little underminer in my inner self-talk vocabulary. And really, it wasn't until some years later when I started learning more about how our thoughts create the results that we get in our lives that I truly realized how damaging the word could be. Now, if you think about it, most often should is used in a negative way. I should be doing something, or I should be some way that I'm not. It implies in some way that we aren't enough. We're not doing enough. We're not good enough. It's demotivating. It's disempowering. And it's shaming. Someone was recently complaining to me that another group of people should be doing this or that. And then she asked me what I thought. Essentially, she was asking me to agree with her. I told her I didn't really like shoulding on people, which got a little bit of a curious look. Because you know what? The truth is, I don't think it's helpful. I think it's more empowering to change should for could. They could do this or that, but for whatever reason, they aren't. And maybe that is worth an honest conversation with them. I would prefer to use could instead of should. I could exercise gives me a choice. It's an option. And if you've heard me talk for a while, you would know that I do firmly believe that everything that we do is a choice. Sometimes it doesn't seem or feel like a choice because we really don't like the alternative. But nevertheless, it is a choice. I should exercise tells me I should be living up to someone else's standard. Whose standard? Should implies comparison, and we all know the famous saying by Theodore Roosevelt that comparison is the thief of joy. Well, if you didn't know it, you do now. How do you feel when you compare yourself to someone else? Unless clearly you are the superior one. I was chatting with some girlfriends recently about high school, and one of us was asking another about her career choice and whether that was something that she knew she wanted to do when she was in high school. It got me reflecting about what it was that I thought that I would be when I was in high school. And I was having a little giggle to myself, seeing the 17-year-old Karina in my mind's eye and me going back in time and telling her how her life would unfold, that she would grow up to be a doctor, marry an Aussie, have 2 little Aussies, and build a life on the other side of the world. Being a doctor was just not even something I would have in my wildest dreams even considered was an option in high school. So this prompted the question of, did I know that I was smart when I was in high school? And so I reflected back and yes, I knew I was a bit smart, but it wasn't anything special. Now, I never studied and I managed a B average, which at the time didn't mean much to me because looking back, the I'm nothing special in terms of smarts comes from comparison. My BFF, and still one of my dearest friends, skipped a grade in school and was in the National Honor Society and graduated at 16 years old. Now, she was smart. She was my measuring stick. She got straight A's. She was smart. I got B's. I was nothing special. So compared to her, I guess I was okay. And then I also remembered thinking when I was growing up that I didn't have much artistic talent either. And that was because my mom and my dad and my brother were also gifted. In fact, my brother was gifted from such an early age that in comparison, again, I didn't think that I had much talent at all. And if my life had not unfolded the way that it did, I would never have realized the potential that I did have in both academics and art. It made me realize that we all probably have special gifts that we don't even know we have. Right now, inside of you, there is unrealized potential that can be cultivated and grown into something amazing. Should you do this? I don't know, but you could. I hope you've enjoyed this Manage Your Mind mindful moment. And if you have, and you can think of someone else who might enjoy it, please pass it on. And don't forget to rate and review the podcast to make it more visible to those who might get something out of it too. Have a great week, everyone. And until then, I hope you opt to thrive.
The Opt to Thrive podcast is designed for information purposes only and is not engaged in the giving of medical advice. The information provided on the podcast should not be used for diagnosing or treating a health problem or disease. In no way should the information provided by Opt to Thrive be considered medical advice, and at all times the advice of a medical professional should supersede recommendations from Opt to Thrive. If you have or suspect you may have a health problem, you should consult your healthcare provider. The views expressed in this podcast are purely that of Dr. Sims and do not in any way reflect those of the institutions she contracts her medical services to.
Thank you for listening to Opt to Thrive. If you've enjoyed listening, please rate and share the podcast. You can visit our website at opttothrive.com and leave a comment for any subjects you would like to hear more about.